Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome back to F1 Manager. This is episode number 10. It's time to do something about the car. We have an underfloor that's ready. We have, I believe, 2 of them ready to go. We've got 4 days till the Canadian Grand Prix. We'll have a decision to make on whether to put it on one car and just see how much better things really are, or do we try to get one on each car, because you're not going to change the underfloor in the middle of a race anyway. Practice is a different matter. Maybe we go first day on just one car, see how different they are, and then, day 2. That might be a good plan right there. But right now, this is where the car ranks. We are 20th, almost everywhere. And we saw the tiniest improvement in a single category. High-speed cornering, high-speed dirty air cornering, and brake cooling is ahead of the 2 Aston Martins and nothing else. So the fact that this boat of a car has gotten around ahead of the Aston Martin more often than not this season has been amazing. But as we go to head into the Canadian Grand Prix, what is this going to do for us? On the surface, it's going to be good. It does a lot. And we're seeing some significant gains. The dirty air cornering in particular is a 1%. 1% gain. Oh, wait, no, it's 1.34%. 1.34. That is more than a overall 10% improvement, right? 1.34 compared to 13.23. That's a 10% improvement from where we were. That is significant. But how does that compare to everybody else? To us, to our car, to our boat, it looks like really significant gains. Now, when we were doing the research part and setting it up, it looked like it was going to be fairly significant. A month and a half, and other teams have rolled out their own upgrades. So we're also comparing to where they're at. Top speed acceleration is still bottom. If we move up one spot, that one spot is car number 1. That one spot is our other car. So that's not a gain. But medium speed cornering is seeing a jump, moving ahead of 2 cars anyway. Again, discount one of those positions. High speed cornering +4. We're moving ahead of 2 teams. Medium speed dirty air cornering and high speed dirty air cornering both seeing gains, but not so huge, not massive. Ooh, okay. There's only one ready so far. That was it. We just put it on car number 2. Porsche. I think we should have the next one ready any day now. And Canadian Grand Prix starts in 4 days. So we're going to start it with different on each car. We want to see how much of a difference. We know from last race weekend that Porsche is about a 10th, 15/100ths of a second off of the pace of Albert right now, first race weekend, which is already 0.4 of a second better than what Latifi ever did. We're not done yet. The manufacturing is ongoing for those underfloors. We have new parts to design, but we also have research for next year to do. Our car's not good. All we really need to do this year is beat the Aston Martin and develop the infrastructure and think about the future, which means I want to get into our research project for next year. Even though the underfloor is so dialed in at high speed, our gains are less so here, probably because we just made huge improvements in that area. The other areas that are so far worse off seem to be picking up some momentum. I'm trying to focus again on the underfloor, being that it's such a huge piece of the car in terms of the aerodynamics. As it's a project that would take 53 days, that is absolutely not something we want to get involved in right now. So I'm going to either go back and reset and go all in on this and see if it's still a 53-day project, or focus on this year's car. All in would look like this. We're talking about huge drag reduction, improvement, low speed, pretty solid improvement. Same with the medium, marginal for high speed. Airflow sensitivity also a pretty significant, 13% gain from a 45. That's a, what, better than 25% overall improvement? That's significant. That's significant too. 11% over 53. I mean, that's what, better than 1 in 5. So that's a 20% gain. Okay, the decision, well, got a little tougher because now it's 55 days to focus on next year's car. This early in the season, tempting. It would absolutely benefit next year's car, but not this year. We're talking about minor differences to the overall car. At least do one more current season upgrade before doing next year. Just for comparison, chassis is out. We can go all in on the upgrade. No matter what it is, it's going to have a very, very minor impact. Suspension, similar issue. The gain is very marginal. Side pods had the same marginal gain. The rear wing, we've done a front wing, we've done an underfloor. Yes, the front wing wasn't great, but we're not going to go right back to it right away. But of the other 4, the rear wing looks to have more than a marginal gain, though still marginal. Overall top speed, not much improved. Overall acceleration, not much improved. Low speed corners, yeah. Medium speed, okay. High speed, but none of it is particularly big. How we operate in dirty air seems to be a little more improved. If anything, I kind of want to go with the next evolution of either the front wing or the underfloor. The underfloor did have a very solid return. And sure enough, the underfloor, a subsequent immediate into another upgrade to the underfloor, seems to be the smart way to go. Top speed increase, more than any of the others. The acceleration, more than any of the others. And then all of the cornering impacts, which are all pretty significant. And so the underfloor, until it gets quite competitive, the underfloor seems to be the best way to make gains with the car.
Formula One is back in Montreal. Let's hope it's not going to be Groundhog Day. The local rodents have disrupted more than one race day here in the past. The Canadian Grand Prix is ready to kick off, and the only drama on the tracks we want to see is the best drivers in the world battling it out for a place on that podium. Gilles Villeneuve is a quick, free-flowing circuit in parts, with a stop-start aspect thrown in for good measure around the chicanes and hairpin bends. Medium-speed downforce will play a large part in avoiding the wall of champions and ensuring success at this iconic track. The season is about halfway through, and it makes me wonder what else is in store for the teams. Well, there's only one way to find out. Okay then, let's get to it.
Looks like we will get some rain on Saturday, some light rain anyway. That could impact things, but it also will save tires for the race. But we've been managing that one fairly well, the way that I've been handling practice. Love the Groundhogs comment, though, as we've seen them many times here at the Montreal race. Pourchaire was actually about a 1/10.5 faster than Albon through free practice session number 1, but his setup was way closer to optimal than Albon's was, and as close as these two are driving-wise, we could easily see it go back and forth week by week with one driver a little bit faster than the other. The only downside is we're trying to test a new underfloor, and Albon's got it on his car, and Pourchaire doesn't, and Albon should be faster. But let's hope that that's just Pourchaire is track-specific quick here compared to Albon. The additional factor that could play into what Albon has is he's got a worn engine. It's only just, though. I mean, we just dropped below the 50% threshold. It shouldn't be impacting him too much yet. This is one of just many crashes that we've had this race weekend, but
terrible news for the team.
Total loss of control there by Stroll is going to remove that Aston Martin from competition for the remainder of this practice session, which is going to impact their setup, you would think, anyway, a little bit. Albon has also flipped the deficit on Pourchaire, where he's been consistently about a 1/10 of a second to a 1/10.5 slower. He's now consistently about a 1/10 of a second faster. when I've compared their times, not just their fastest time. And that is despite Pourchaire already getting to about 90% on his setup, and Albin still being in the mid-70s. So by the end of FP2, Pourchaire's already got a 96%, so he's locked in. We're just going to go out and get that acclimatization up to 100% in FP3 and then be done with it for him as he's, nailed it down. That lockdown of near 100% got him back ahead of Albin. Albin into the 80s now, but he's still got quite a ways to go on his setup. By the end of this thing, Albin was half a second quicker than Pourchaire. And by the end of this thing being FP3, both cars fully acclimatized to the track. Albin not fully acclimatized to the underfloor, but we got it to 90%. And both of them having their setups nailed down. So familiarity with the car parts do make a difference on the performance, and Albin, not yet being familiar with the new underfloor, is experiencing a penalty. Now, right now, it's cloudy. We have a 40% chance of rain in 4 minutes time. So getting a lap in early could potentially get us out of Q1 if it does start to rain here in 4 minutes time. So let's see if we can get out a little bit. Nobody else is on track at the moment, so this is ideal for us if the rain does decide to come. It's only a 40% chance. We were predicted to have light rain today. It stayed dry all through practice, but what's going to happen here in qualifying? I'd love to see it offer us a little bit of rain here in the next few minutes. Okay, 70% chance of rain coming in the next few minutes. That run might have been the only one you're going to get. However, before the rain comes, we want to get out there and try to get a second lap in. So we are going to put on those fresh tires and have a go right now. Albin, by the way, put in a very solid time. He is less than a second behind Sainz. Now, that's not to say that Sainz didn't make a mistake, because Tsunoda's only a tenth of a second behind him. And you can see Alonso has gone into the lead, so we are getting bumped down. But either way, Albin is nearly 0.6 of a second faster than Pourchaire. 0.6 of a second. Now, was there a mistake somewhere? Possibly, but I will absolutely take that as a positive sign. We're tenth and a half behind Gasly, behind Norris. Here come the other times. Stroll exactly a tenth of a second ahead of us. Yeah, and here's the rain. Here's the rain. Rain on track. Rain on track. We might be P12 and P13. We might be P12 and P13. We have one Aston Martin coming to the line now. That's Vettel. Vettel over 2 seconds back. Vettel's over 2 seconds back. Ocon, 13.5 seconds down. Perez, Schumacher, they are not getting anywhere near our times. Verstappen as well. And the track is starting to dry. No, it continues to rain. Everybody's going out again. Doesn't matter. Ocon, Perez, and Schumacher are the only ones that are going to improve their times. There's the checkered flag. And we have done it. We have gotten out of Q1. Totally down to tactical and rain coming at the right time, but we went out there and we got our lap in, we got our banker lap, and not everybody did. Verstappen, Perez, both Red Bulls out in Q1. Their egos just went both Haas cars and Ocon out as well. But yes, we have escaped Q1. We have escaped Q1. Or have we? It's their last chance now. Schumacher did not improve his time. Leclerc did not improve his time. Schumacher, Perez are both out. Perez put in a better time, as did Ocon and Schumacher, but they went from 13 seconds down to 5 seconds down because they were out on intermediates, or so it would seem. Yes, they are. They are all on intermediates, and we've done it. It's official. We're out of Q1. Yeah. By the start of Q2, the rain has stopped and the track has dried. It's dry now. It's expected to still be dry in 5 minutes' time, which means there's time to get a lap in. We only have one left on the tires. There's no track rubber out there, though, as the rain has washed it away, so we're not going to take a banker lap right now. We are going to wait a little bit, but we're going to keep an eye on this weather report. Now, the only bad news for us in this scenario is that both Stroll and Vettel also escaped Q1. So, under the circumstances, we're still very much in the middle of a battle with the Aston Martins, with those two. Good news is the Haas cars are behind us, and they are ones that aren't a guarantee. Magnussen more so than Schumacher is a guarantee to beat us, but it certainly increases our chances that we could beat those two in the race, seeing that they were out early and they're going to start behind us, and it's going to take a while for overtakes to happen. What we can hope for here is qualifying ahead of the Aston Martins. Albon's time, quite competitive, 1.7. He's only 2/10 short of Gasly. We've been nowhere near Gasly all season long, besides one race where we were hanging in there competitively with him. But in terms of qualifying and practice, we've been a good second off of Gasly all season. So that was a really strong one, and we're looking at half a second between Albon and Pourchaire. Albon's ahead of Guan Yu Zhou right now, and that does not look like a bad time for Zhou. Okay, here we go. 4 minutes. We have rain coming. We have rain coming in 4 minutes. 80% chance. So we're going to get both cars out immediately. Alright, we are backing off a bit. Right now, Albon is P10 and Pourchaire is P13. Tsunoda and Norris not able to get clean laps in. Norris, who I think is the one behind us here, unless that's Ricciardo. And we've definitely backed off here now to where we have some space. Final chicane with the wall of champions, and then you're on to the lap. So now it's max effort for Alexander Albon, and we'll see how he does on his lap compared to Pourchaire. Pourchaire hopefully can do a little more with this lap. Both are yellow in the first sector, so not a good first sector from either one. Last lap, 114 flat and 114.160. But we don't know how that competes with everyone else. We do know that Pourchaire, I think, was 0.6 of a second behind, is now 2.5 quarter second behind Albon's time. So I don't think Albon necessarily improved his time. He's just ahead of Stroll. That looks to be about where he was. But Pourchaire definitely did improve his time. So maybe the warm-up didn't quite go, or whatever the reason. 80% chance of rain did not hit, though. So that means everybody's going to get a clean run in. And unfortunately, they're probably going to improve their time here in these final 30 seconds. Leclerc is the fastest in Q2. Hamilton was the fastest in Q1, which of course was wild. But hey, we're starting from 14th and 15th. It's pretty dang good, and we are 1/10 of a second off of Stroll.
Welcome to race day. And before we get down to it, last-minute checks are being made.
Qualifying went well for Williams, as attested by their strong position on the grid. Now it's all about finding that edge for the race itself. Aston Martin performed well during the qualifying session, and they're rewarded with a good grid position for the race. And the sky is looking grey and cloudy today. An effective tyre strategy could prove very valuable as the race plays out.
But don't forget, there's always excitement in Montreal, and the odds are that this will be another Grand Prix to remember. The drivers have now taken position on the grid, and it's looking like a cloudy day. Here we have Alexander Albon. Slower than most yesterday, so today they'll be starting from the bottom half of the grid. And looking at the second Williams car. They'll be starting the race from the bottom half of the grid, so there's a fair bit of ground to make up. And we're just moments away now. The drivers are ready and raring to go. It's the Canadian Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go.
And the race is underway here in Canada, in Montreal. You know, funny thing about this one is for years, I thought the race was in Vancouver, and some of that had to do with Motorsport Manager and their, not the PC version, though it might have been the PC version, but I think more so the mobile version. It kept racing in Vancouver, and that was their version of the Montreal race because they didn't have a license. And I thought the race really was in Vancouver for a number of years before I finally learned and realized, because they always just refer to it as the Canadian Grand Prix. Anyway, race underway here, and we are P14 and P15 unchanged off the grid. Verstappen, Perez still behind us for the time being. It looks like Perez might have moved beyond Ocon, as I think he started from P19, but maybe not. Only worrying thing is that we've got Vettel and Stroll ahead of Gasly in between them, and then Tsunoda behind them. So the two AlphaTauris on the back foot against the two Aston Martins, and then us. So we absolutely want to keep things close, keep things aggressive here early on, but we are already using up a number of ERS. Let's go ahead and go neutral for Pourchaire, as he is behind Albon, though he is almost a second back, but we do not have DRS as of yet. Lap 2 just now underway, so that's one lap in the books, one clean lap in the books. No mistakes from any drivers, no collisions. Good clean first lap. Now, we are not expected to have rain today. However, we are between 35 to 40% chance of rain here in the early stages on this one. We're already starting to overheat a little bit, so we're going to back off a little bit for now. We want to stay close. We want to stay in this train, though Albon is very close to Tsunoda. I just worry about what's going to happen with... Here comes Verstappen to the outside. No, he's going to tuck in for now as we make the hairpin here to set up the back straight. He might get us if he stays close. The tuck in might have cost him the chance to make the overtake now. Vettel, first, well, other than Norris and Russell, one of the first cars, one of the only cars in the grid to be outside of DRS range, which means Vettel will be vulnerable to Gasly behind. Stroll, almost out of range on Gasly, will maybe soon find himself vulnerable to Tsunoda. And here's another look from Verstappen, and Verstappen to the inside. Looks like he'll complete the pass this time. Still battling back though, Pourchaire. Good pace from him. And has recovered the position, or has he not? Did we just get past? Nope. He's coming this time though. Again, Verstappen tucks back in. Unable to make a move.
Check the DRS. Yeah.
That's ERS used up for Albon though. Albon very close to Tsunoda. Tsunoda very close to Stroll. Stroll momentarily looking to get a move past Gasly, even though I thought Gasly had Vettel nailed, and not quite the case, is it? Pourchaire, we're going to have to start conserving.
Increase, please.
I think this is going to allow Verstappen to get by. However, it's going to set us up to continue on. We'll be able to follow Verstappen back in on that train. Well, held him off a few laps, but I just don't think we'll hold him off too long. Albon, I still want to push, though. I do not want to lose the train, and I do not want to lose as Verstappen now having to look to the inside. No, he's going to switch to the outside. And he's going to get the inside for this turn. That's probably going to be it. Albon with the overtake failed, yes. Through the hairpin there, and this time Verstappen completes the move. That's P16 now for Porsche. We're obviously going to go backwards, but it's our rate of going backwards versus Aston Martin's rate of going backwards. And if we could possibly somehow hold off maybe Schumacher, I don't know about Magnussen. Schumacher's down at P20, so I think if there's somebody to hold off, it's going to be him. Verstappen already around Albon. Albon just not very good defending. Tsunoda unable to overtake Stroll on that occasion, but we have closed right down on this, well, this long train led by Gasly. I mean, this train goes from Gasly in 10th all the way to Schumacher in last place. Every single car within a second of the one in front of it.
Situation is at your P18. P18.
Porsche overtaken by Perez now. Continues his backward trend. And we start to see a little bit of gaps opening up back there. That could be a good thing in trying to hold those guys off and help keep a position for Albon at least by slowing them down. And yes, we're starting to see a little bit of train magic happening here. Sainz and Leclerc overtaking, swapping places there as Leclerc moves ahead of Sainz. Russell in third with Bottas, Alonso, Hamilton all closely behind there. Then Norris, Zhou, and Ricciardo. Norris has moved around Guan Yu Zhou. Then the big train, which Vettel has gotten back around Gasly. Right now, being in the train is obviously important, but we really want to kind of set up something for down the road.
Still lifting coasting. Coffee.
Possibly pitting, a lap early, going for an overtake. We've got to see what other guys are up to. I mean, are they on the soft compound and then trying to go hard? Tsunoda is. Magnussen and Schumacher are. Schumacher has gotten up to P18. Okay, we're going to watch this gap closely for the next little bit. Gap to the front is obviously opening as the two Ferraris are pulling away, especially without the two Red Bulls in contention. You would expect a 1-2 from the Ferraris today. Russell not that far behind, but clearly not on the same pace as the top two teams. Verstappen and Perez only slowly making their way through the field are now 18-19 seconds behind, so they are having a lot of difficulty overtaking. So far, Verstappen has only gotten around Porsche and is still behind Albon. Albon has successfully blocked him so far. And as we remain close on these guys, we're still in a great position. Okay, tires slightly overheating. They were moderately overheating, so actually that is temperature coming down a little bit from where it was. Not having the going on harvest just like that kind of really impacts things. That puts us in a slightly better place than we were last lap. We're about 15% better off on the energy, and we're seeing a big move here with two Aston Martins side by side, and that is Stroll getting past on Vettel, and to my inside we had a brief glimpse of the Red Bull, and he looks to complete the pass and does. Unfortunately, he also kind of blocks us off in the process and just cost me nearly a second worth of time as he goes past Porsche, back ahead of Mick Schumacher in the meantime. Schumacher gets by. So we push with Porsche, and he goes backwards without making any mistakes either. That's your pace difference between us and the Haas, I think, showing its ugly face. We did close that gap down, though. I mean, we went from 3 seconds behind back down to a second and a half. We were absolutely closing it down on the train, and hopefully Schumacher continues to make that push. For now, we're going to stay neutral here with Porsche and just push on. Meanwhile, back up with Albon. Verstappen got around Gasly finally, but that is 3 cars between us and the Aston Martins. It's still only a matter of a few seconds, and that gap in front is, nearly 10 seconds now, as Stroll is really slowing our train down, meaning the undercut would be a great way to get away from this group. But we aren't strong enough, fast enough to really drive away on our own. We still need that DRS train, speed-wise, compared to everybody else. And Albon, I do think Albon, now that he's grown a bit of accustomed to this underfloor, you know, as the race weekend went on and as the setups kind of got to equal footing, we seem to be about half a second per lap faster than what we were. As you know, we went from a slight disadvantage over Porsche in FP1 to about half a second clear by the end of FP3. So that's significant. That's absolutely significant. And you can see we're keeping up with these guys much better than we normally do, but technically we're following an Aston Martin. We already know that we can do that. We can manage that. So how much better off are we? Yeah, I don't know. Clean Air? I don't know. Porsche? Already a second and a half now behind. No, he's not. He's not a second and a half behind. He is battling back with Schumacher. So he almost overtook Schumacher there for a moment. Overtake ended up failing, but that's okay. He's battling with a Haas. Proud of him for it. Here's Albon having a look to the inside of Gasly. Oh, we cut back to the inside again. Scary moment there. I thought Albon maybe under braking might have Gasly if Gasly left the door open, but then he kind of closed the door. We tucked in, but then also decided not to tuck in. That was close. Pits are taking place now. So what we just had was Perez going back down to last place and Gasly both pitting. So Gasly just ahead of us. That's going to pull us right back up on the Aston Martins, which is ideal for now. That's where we want to be. Magnussen goes by on the inside there. We didn't see it, but that was on our right-hand side. Unfortunately there that Magnussen slips through right as we get up on the Aston Martins finally. We instantly lose it. We were still on harvest. That not helping with it, but I think we've got that ERS finally where we want it to be anyway. And hopefully Magnussen can quickly get through and lead our train along a little bit faster. Actually, Verstappen has gone through. So Verstappen has finally made his way through this train into clean air. Can he lead this entire train along back into a better place? Porsche, though, is suddenly 5 seconds behind. No mistake, as actually Porsche just made a pass. I missed right as it went to disappear, but Porsche has gone around Schumacher yet again. But after those pit stops, our gap suddenly went out. So Porsche is 5.5 seconds behind the train. That's how quickly that train pulled away. Now 6 seconds back. So Porsche getting out of position a little bit here, but Albon remains right in the mix. The only unfortunate part is that both Aston Martins are in this as well, and ahead of us still Sainz, Russell, Norris all into the pits. Norris, I would imagine, is going to be coming out somewhere, nearby to where we're at. He is in the pits now. Tsunoda and Magnussen also pitting. That's going to open a little bit of a gap there. Albon's going to have to try to close that down as Norris has been passed. Albon already gone past, but is he going to still come out ahead? Here you might see Norris on our left-hand side as there's the exit from the pit road. No, we are ahead of him. We are ahead, but we are going to have to now push on and try to close that gap down as we had to give up some space. So Albon just over 1 second behind as of right now. Porsche is in between Ocon and Norris is in between Ocon and Porsche where he came out at. But yeah, Albon, we have got to get back within a second and close up on those two because they are who we are really racing here. Maybe some others as well, but those two are the primary targets. We're going to go to deploy here for a little bit.
Full deploy.
within a second for now.
Okay.
And there is the line, so I think we're going to get the DRS this time. And it's going to allow us to close up further. Yes, the gap is shrinking, so yes, I do believe we got DRS. 15th right now, but 3.7 behind Joe, so we are out of touch at the moment. Just got to do what he's doing. Unfortunately, he is definitely losing some ground, so if anybody might want to go with an undercut, it would be Pourchaire. Let's see if he can't gain a little something, but I feel like he's a little too far behind right now to really gain much of anything. It's just Schumacher who his race is with right now. What we have in terms of pit strategy, lap 23, and you know, this back 5 is all pit. Pourchaire is the only one who is not at the back end, so the next 2 in front, and then these 5, none have pit yet, and the front end have. Ricardo's going to drop back now. He was with Norris and Guan Yu Zhou, so we'll see where he comes out at in relation to those guys, but I would imagine he'll be in a similar place, and it's still quite a while before we are expected to take our pit. Albon has gone deeper. He has pushed harder on these tires continually, and you can see that he has drained them a bit more as we go to the outside here of the Aston Martin, and it looks like we are going to complete the pass. Pit window is opening, so we're just at the beginning of our pit window, and tire wear, you know, is not that bad, so actually we're looking pretty good. As he needs to pit, as Albon's having a look to the outside of Vettel. He's going to get the inside on the secondary part of the chicane, but are they still side by side? No, he is passed, so Albon has made it past Vettel. Now is the time.
And a new position.
Well, not
just
quite yet.
gained by Williams.
Yes, 9/10 of a second ahead. Deploy.
Okay, reduce lift and
Get out of DRS range.
Yes.
We want to drive away from Vettel over the next couple of laps, open up a little gap before we pit, so that by the time we do pit, we can come out and have separate races beyond them. This is an ideal scenario right now for Albon, as we are more than a second away from Vettel. But I think he got DRS there. That was one of your... We have 3 DRS zones, don't we? That closed him back down, but 0.8 of a second behind. Opening that gap. 0.9. There's the detection. He's going to just have it. Just going to have it. 1.1 seconds behind, but he does have DRS. It's going to close him back within a second. That's Ricardo behind, so Vettel's the only other one left from our train as we go to head to the pits. And it looks like Vettel's coming. No, Vettel is continuing on. So he's going to go for the overcut. We definitely want to make sure that Vettel is still behind us, and I would very much like to have more than a second. But it's going to be really important to see where we end up to the train that was with us. Are we behind it? Are we still in it? Have we pulled out ahead of it? .7 on the stop, not bad. Pourchaire goes past, not by far, and we're gonna come out just ahead of the AlphaTauris. Yes, okay. Go too aggressive. We don't want to push too hard here, but we absolutely want to deploy what we have for now, and we want to come out with a bit of a gap. So Tsunoda and Gasly, Ocon all behind, Magnussen still behind. So wow. What a job there. We are 3 seconds behind Perez. We're going to watch to see where Vettel comes out at. He's already escaping, and there's the train going past. There's the back end of the train. He is going to come out in that train, though. And Albon just got double passed by Gasly and Tsunoda. Ouch. And here comes Ocon trying to make a move. Vettel not quite getting up to speed when he needed to. He is more than a second behind, though. Can Vettel miss the train and we stay in the train and leave Vettel behind? That would be an ideal scenario for Albon, even though we are now in the middle of the train. You never know what's going to happen at the end of this thing. Final laps, if we're still in the train, we might be able to make a push and make a pass or two. But meanwhile, Vettel and Stroll are now P17 and 18, while Albon's P14. And we're in a race for anything from 12th to 16th at the moment. But Vettel is closing that gap. Vettel pushed on his outlap. Smart. I wasn't sure the AI would make that sort of move, but it has. Right, Vettel is into the back end of the train. Maybe not. He did not get DRS. Vettel did not get DRS. He's 2 seconds behind. Albon momentarily around Gasly. Perez is moving once again. He's just all the way down in P18 with Pourchaire a few seconds behind. That Albon has gone past both AlphaTauris.
Just gained by Williams. Let's take a look at the replay.
Here's a
Now,
replay of that move
Williams
down the
here.
straight with the DRS. Getting on past. Now we're 8 seconds behind Guan Yu Zhou, so that ship has sailed. But Zhou has lost the train that was the 2 McLarens that he was with. Now also includes Verstappen, as Verstappen continues to make his way up through the field up to P8 now. Perez, of course, total reset all the way down at P18. I do not think that Perez, I don't know, it's lap 32. He's only 8 seconds behind us. He might still make his way all the way up to maybe P11, P10, but Perez is not going to make his way all the way through the grid. Not like that. And Vettel, his gap is growing. Vettel is falling off the back. So even though I'm the one at the front of the train right now, we are driving away from Sebastian Vettel. We went deep on the fuel for a long time. We're back in a good position, as in we're back to neutral, but we definitely have not gotten back to being able to make any sort of big push yet. But following others will mean that eventually, not immediately, but eventually we'll be able to recover our ERS for a late push. We might be able to back off on the tires for a little bit at some point. Right back past Tsunoda. We have good pace, but we just can't drive away from these guys. And that's awesome. We are racing with the AlphaTauris. We're racing with one of the Alpines. We're racing with a Haas. And a Red Bull who's just kind of caught it back. He just got around Tsunoda. Oh, that was Albon. Not Perez. Wrong Red Bull. How many years has it been since Albon was in that seat? It is a blue car. It is a blue car. Leclerc, nearly 6 seconds ahead of Sainz. They were neck and neck until Sainz made that mistake. I don't know if he ever got back up there, though. Honestly, I haven't looked that closely. But Hamilton and Russell, podium there, P3 and P4. Alonso, not too far behind. Those guys are all out of DRS range of each other, though. So they are a bit off compared to one another. So, look at those intervals. No DRS for anyone in the top 7 until you get to Verstappen. You figure Verstappen at some point is going to get around Ricciardo. By the way, Norris was just a couple seconds back, is now 10 seconds behind, as we are now side by side again. This whole battling thing is not good for us. But where is Vettel? Vettel just now coming through the chicane. That's how far back he has dropped. And we're having ourselves a race, aren't we? The race is on. The season is on. Not quite for points. Not quite for points at this point, but we are absolutely in a totally different scenario than we've been in at any other point this season.
Is that a new race position?
Schumacher overtaking Pourchaire again, but now just over a second behind Stroll. Pit. It's Verstappen. Verstappen.
There's been contact on the track. Let's have a look.
Multiple cars. Verstappen is one of them.
Ricciardo involved here.
Verstappen trying to make a move on Ricciardo. Oh,
And that's a big
Verstappen
smash.
tries to squeeze Ricciardo out of the way. Nowhere for Ricciardo to go. He puts him into the wall of champions, and then it turns his front end right into the wall. So
We'll see.
Verstappen out of the race, and Ricciardo drives on, but clearly will have damage. And where we are located at, that is going to move Albon up into 11th. Ricciardo's going to have to pit, you would think, after that. And beating Tsunoda, right? By the time Ricciardo pits, we're going to be P10. And you beat Tsunoda, we're fighting for points. We're fighting for points. Okay, we do need to go light, though. This is safety car, so it will close up. Go ahead and go harvest. This is full safety car, so you can back it up. It's okay. Pourchaire. Pourchaire, I want Pourchaire to push on. No, Pourchaire does not need to push on, but we are still...
Increase, lift and coast.
We are still with a Ferrari just behind us. Well, we were with a Ferrari literally just behind us. We are caught behind the safety car, but it's going to let us go now. .8. We're ahead of the safety car. We are ahead of the safety car. Okay. Whew. Now, go catch up. Go catch up. You've got Vettel, Stroll, Schumacher for the taking to get to P16. Now, I would not mind if Vettel's made it to the back end. I wouldn't mind if we went green this lap if it meant Stroll not catching up, but Stroll has caught up. Stroll has caught up, so we need the safety car long enough for Pourchaire to catch up as well. He's still got quite some ground to cover. Hugely important race restart. Can we improve our position? Do we at least hold our position? And meanwhile, can Pourchaire begin to make gains? He obviously has gained the ground. That was huge. And Albon instantly having a look. Only going aggressive, not full attack on the tires. Pourchaire was the only one who pit, by the way. I don't think Ricciardo even pit. Ricciardo did drop from 7th to 9th, so he might have pit. He did. He did. He put on a used set of softs. That's going to be hard to go to the end on. 22 laps, and they're used. That could give us Ricciardo in the future here. So Ricciardo just ahead of Tsunoda. Albon very, very close behind here, looking for that overtake. Vettel and Stroll, 16th and 17th. Albon having a look to the inside, and he's got around Tsunoda. Up to P10, we are in the points. We are in the points right now. Magnussen, by the way, has the fastest lap of this race so far. Now, DRS is not active yet, but ideally, Tsunoda has fallen off a little bit here. If he falls off a little bit more, we could possibly get out of DRS range of that train behind us and actually follow Ricciardo, which would comfortably get us P10 if that were to happen. And that would be our ideal scenario right now, is opening a gap behind us before
use DRS.
DRS begins. Meanwhile, Pourchaire is still last place as of right now. We're going to have to go back to neutral. He's already used all of his ERS. That was the one thing Pourchaire didn't get in playing catch-up there. As he caught the back end of the grid, we did not harvest during that time, as we've seen how much slower it makes you when you're doing that compared to the rest of the field. But if we could go just fast enough to stay, there's no way we're going to beat Ricciardo head-to-head. Magnussen has lost the wheel of Perez, so he is out of DRS range. Gasly also falling off, which is holding up Vettel and Stroll, where Pourchaire is still in range of those two and could possibly make a move on them as time goes on. Perez and Gasly have just pit again. So Perez and Gasly have pit, and that is changing the order a little bit up here. So it's lap 56. Albon still in 10th place, just a few tenths of a second behind Ricciardo. So we are still very, very close. Ocon has now moved into P11, is putting pressure on us. He's a little harder to hold back than I think the AlphaTauris are, so could be challenging on that part. But we are putting pressure on Ricciardo, which is amazing. Anyway, Ocon, Tsunoda, Magnussen is 2 seconds back. Vettel is 5 seconds back, with Stroll, Schumacher, and Pourchaire all right there. And then Perez, Gasly, who just pit. Now, looking at how everybody is doing, who's the most likely to see secondary pit stops? Schumacher, Magnussen, Tsunoda, all in the 50 percentile. Really, all of these guys are in about the same. Ricciardo, though, is dropping really fast, just 65% on those softs. So if he ends up pitting, it's moving us one spot higher. But Pourchaire with the mediums does have a bit of an advantage here, while Perez and Gasly on the softs are going to be fast, but they're well off the back and not in any sort of DRS range. The train that we're in here with Albon starts with Alonso, all the way up in P5 at 4.5 seconds behind the Mercedes. So Alonso, Show, Norris, Bottas, Ricciardo, Albon, Ocon, Tsunoda, all in DRS range, all in one big train. We're very much in the middle of it, but we're in the final points paying position as of right now. But we're having to work pretty hard to kind of hold it. So the tire advantage we had over a number of cars, we've had to work hard. And so we have burnt through these tires a bit faster, but we still have enough to get to the end. We still have enough to get through those 12 laps. But will we have enough pace at the end of those 12 laps to hold off in Ocon, to hold off a Tsunoda? Looks like everybody else is no longer a threat, so we're looking at top 12, and that's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic, but can we hang on and get a point? As we have a look to the outside, which will soon become the inside of Lance Stroll. And we are. And Schumacher has gone by Vettel as well, so Pourchaire gains one position. He's already having a look, continuing on, trying to get around Vettel. We, of course, have the right tire compound to be making this sort of move. Really hasn't taken much. We had Vettel for a moment there, but Vettel squeezed across us, and Pourchaire has to back out. He was sufficiently alongside, but of course the rule set over the last year or two has favored aggression a bit more and allowed drivers to just drive across the other opponent. There's going to be a good opportunity. I think we dropped back a little bit too much during the hairpin there. So that's P11 for Albon. Out of the points for now. I'm okay with being out of the points. I think P11 is great. It really, really improves our position compared to Aston Martin, but a point would be really nice. Sector 1, we have a yellow flag. Somebody locked up. And it's a crash. We have a crash. We have a crash. Magnussen crashes in turn 10. So I think it started with a lockup. Running in no man's land. It's the same place. Same place. Same thing that happened with... what was that? Perez earlier. Was that Perez who did that earlier? That's not going to rule him out of the race, so he will continue on. Magnussen into the pits. And that backs him out. So Sonoda is now the back of the train in P12. Schumacher is 10 seconds behind the train. So our race really is almost entirely in front of us with Albon. And Magnussen still in the pits is going to drop down to the back of the order. Pourchaire up to P15 with Vettel just ahead and then Schumacher from there. And that is that 10-second gap. So we're nearly to the front of that train. Uh-oh. No ERS. Looked like we had a slow takeoff from the hairpin. Almost a second behind. Now momentarily just over a second. We do get DRS though. But we had no ERS to use through there. And so now we're 1.2 seconds behind Ocon. Have we just compromised our race by running out of ERS at the exact wrong moment? Cornering's good for Albon. Cornering is good. You can really see it here, just how much faster Albon is than he has been previously with this new underfloor. We got almost 3 wide there, as not even sure who that was. Joe, Norris, Alonso. Alonso, who was the front of the train, is now down to P7. Guan Yu Zhou, Norris have both gone through. Bottas also pressuring. Ricardo, Ocon, Albon closing it back in. Has that little bit of ERS now, so much better lap here. But that fast cornering really helping. We're not great on the straight. We need that DRS to get the additional speed that we're lacking. Close call there. We nearly lost DRS. We did gain a decent amount of ERS in the battery though through that sector. And thanks to the DRS, we do close that gap right back down. Really coming up on the end of the race. Critical time. Fuel's fine. Good to go to the end of the race. Tire wear, it's not great at 43, but it'll make it. Pourchaire at 52 will definitely be okay. And he's just got to get around Vettel. That's Pourchaire's big move, so we're going to set him up for that here fairly soon.
Okay, 5 laps to go. Okay.
Okay, gap is close for Albon, so let's go ahead and harvest again through this sector. And that should set us up for a run over the last few laps. Pourchaire gets around... Schumacher gets around Pourchaire there. As we tried to overtake. So Pourchaire tried to get around Vettel and ends up being overtaken by Schumacher after he tucks back in. Alright, overtake mode for Pourchaire.
And use overtake.
Pourchaire just inside a second. Oh, Perez went by, so he is now behind. He's got Perez between him and Vettel. That's not good for his chances. Stroll is 17th, not 19th, by the way. Gasly and Magnussen are at the back. And Pourchaire loses a full second after Perez probably squeezes him out. So that's not good. Not good. Albon.
DRS is currently disabled. DRS is currently disabled.
What? You had the full battery. He had full battery. And he used the entire thing in one straightaway. As Perez got around Vettel at least. So Perez passed Vettel. Less to lose for Pourchaire, so we want to be full aggressive for the last couple laps there. And Albon is set to overtake.
Just use the overtake.
Yes.
Albon, at the moment, 7/10 of a second behind, is definitely too far back to make a move right now, but we've got to try to get up there. Pourchaire immediately gets to moderate overheating, but it's 2 laps to go. It's okay at this point, as long as you can keep at least some pace in the car. And we close up on Ocon, just 2/10 of a second behind, and the battery's used up. Gone. This straightaway just eats up that battery almost instantly. Set to defend. Last lap, Sainz still leads from Leclerc. Albon does not have the DRS, the ERS, and energy recovery system. There's not enough in there, so he's falling back right now as others are deploying, and it's leaving him a bit vulnerable to Tsunoda here. 1 lap to go for Albon, and Tsunoda having a look to the inside. Can we hold him off?
Okay, you're starting the final lap.
Switch to defend. 11th right now is the best we can hope for. But we can go full attack here on this final lap for Albon. And we'll see if we're fast enough through this section of the track to close back up on Ocon and maybe have a look at him. Leclerc has taken the win from Sainz right at the end. Overtake button, full deploy, let's go. Oh gosh. Gone in an instant. That button just drains so fast on that turn.
Yep, copy.
P11, Ricciardo has fallen to P10. Ocon has moved ahead. We will defend here against Tsunoda for a P11. It's not the points, but my oh my, what a difference. 3 spots better than anything else we had all season. 5 spots better than all but 1 race this season. All because of 1 upgrade to the car. And a fortuitous qualifying session, I might add. But that's Leclerc, Sainz, Russell, Hamilton, Norris, Zhou, and we are P11. And Pourchaire, P14. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.
Team in the pits will be happy with that.